reason of use. The word translated exercise there is gymnasia, where we get gymnasium. So when God gets ready to give you a good workout, he shuts out all of your natural senses so that you can sense in your spirit what the Lord is saying to the church. Otherwise, this scripture don't make any sense. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying to church. Wait a minute, Lord, everybody got an ear. He said, I'm not talking about your natural ear. I'm talking about your spiritual ear. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Means that I'm not going to talk to you in an audible way. I'm going to speak to you in a spiritual way, and you're going to sense it in your belly, though you heard nothing in your ear. Am I making sense to you? And I put you in the worship service so your senses could be exercised by reason of use. Can I go deeper? Cognitive recall requires past experiences. So, do you remember your second cousin, Willie James from Chicago? See, well, let me think a minute. I'm being cognitive. Let me think about it. I had a past experience with him. Yeah, girl, I remember him. I remember him because he's my point of reference. I had to search through my cognitive reasoning in order to catch a glimpse of vision. One of the things that is associated with memory is eyesight. There is a correlation between eyesight and memory. And so what I see with my eyes, I record with my mind. But what about when God gives me something that my eyes haven't seen and my ears haven't heard and neither have entered into my heart? I can't be cognitive because I can't see it. That's how I remember you, because I saw you. And I say, that's Cerise. She changed her hair, but that took me a minute to recognize you. You did your hair different, but I remembered your face. That means I had to encounter you before to recognize, to recognitive you. What God is getting ready to do in your life is not cognitive. We remember through associative cognition. Foreign names can be challenging to remember because we don't have cognitive association. So when somebody says, my name is Alabama Sahanda Boshi, you say, I'm going to call you A. It wouldn't be a problem to remember it if you grew up around names like that, because you would have the association to help you to be cognitive. But what about when God does something for which you have no association and your eyes haven't seen it? I remember because I saw. It's hard to remember if I'm blind, because my eye gate helps my mind to record data. We get back to the car, my wife and say, I'll say, which one are you talking about? She said, the girl in the red dress. Okay. She recorded it because she saw the dress. That's her cognitive ability. Through association, she remembers the woman because she remembers the dress. I don't know who she's talking about, because I didn't pay no attention to the woman or the dress. But I tell her, go on with the story, go on with the story, go on to, release yourself, let yourself go, tell me about it. Go on. And the next time we're in church, I say, which one was it? Am I telling the truth? I do it all the time. Which one? Show me which one you're talking about. Because I need to see her, pay attention, and record it in my head, because my eyes are helping my mind to remember. If we don't have cognitive association, we can't remember. Go to John 6, 13, 15. I'm almost there. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets, and the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, watch this, surely this is the prophet who is come into the world. Come on. Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. Wait a minute. Jesus didn't just go to the mountain to pray. He went to the mountain to hide because they had recognized him to be the Messiah. Now I understand why the disciples didn't recognize him when he walked on the water, because he had hidden what they recognized and showed himself in another form that made the disciples think he was a ghost. Because what drove him in the mountain to pray in the first place is that he didn't want to be coronated before being crucified. Give me that other text. Put that other text up there again, because I want them to recognize the former text, the one you had up there before. Yeah. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets and the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. Come on. After the people saw the sign Jesus performed when he took the 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and fed the 5,000, they began to say, surely this is the prophet who is coming to the world. Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, not by cross, by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. You can't let people crown you before your time. Don't let their compliments and their flattery push you into a position that you are not ready for right now. Let patience have its perfect work. God will show you when it's time for you to move. Until then, it's better to hide even from your friends who are trying to force you. Child, if that was me, I would take over that church. If that was me, I would get that man. If that was me, I would take that job. If that was me, shut up, it's not you. You're not going to force me into being king, because my next scheduled appointment isn't with a crown, but a cross. And the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighted in his way. Let me go on. Okay, so let's go to Matthew 14, 25, 29, so you can see how when Jesus came in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went unto them walking on the sea. Come on. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it's a spirit. And they cried out for fear. Why didn't they recognize Jesus? They had just seen him before. But the problem the disciples kept having with Jesus is that they could not recognize Jesus whenever he showed up in another form. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. They didn't recognize his form, but they recognized his voice. For the Bible said, my sheep know my voice, and a stranger they will not follow. Now the form and the voice didn't line up with each other, but when they heard the voice, they said, that sounds like him. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me to come unto thee on the water. I still don't trust the form, because the form don't look like the guy I left going up on the mountain. And the guy I left walking on the sand is not the form I see walking on the water. That's why God told Moses, you can't define me. I am that I am. See, I can turn into whatever I need to be, whenever I need to be, to do whatever I got to do, because I'm God. I can be water flowing out of rock. I can be honey in a lion. I can be the bread of heaven. I can be whatever I want to be. And now he's in another form but he had the same voice. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. I said all of that to get to the text. In our text, we learn that God's answers often defy our recognition. He said, I'm going to send you bread. Remember? I'm back in Exodus. I'm in Exodus 61 through 5, 31 through 32. He said, I'm going to send bread, but the people called it manna. They were looking for bread. Wait a minute. What is their cognition of bread? Egypt. The only bread they recognized was Egyptian bread. So when God sent bread down from heaven, they didn't recognize it. They called it manna, which means, what is it? Now God called it bread, they called it manna. What's the difference between bread and manna? It's what your cognitive thoughts tell you it should have looked like. And now it's in front of you, and the answer doesn't look like what you thought. Oh, I'm working on something. The reason I'm in this text tonight, well, there's a lot of reasons I'm in this text tonight, but one of the reasons that I'm in this text tonight is because sometimes God's answer looks so different from what you thought that you will reject his answer because you don't recognize it. This is the substratum of the gospel. He came unto his own, and his own received him not, because they did not recognize it. If the princes of this world would have known what they were doing, they would have never crucified the Lord, but they did not recognize it. Who do men say that I am? Some say that thou art Elias. Some say that thou art Jeremiah. Who do you say that I am? Only one of the 12 recognized him. It's the same guy who recognized him on the water. Thou art the Christ. Oh, y'all don't hear. Y'all ain't so good as I'm preaching. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the true and living God. And Jesus says, flesh and blood have not revealed this unto you. You didn't get this through your natural eyes, but my Father which is in heaven. And upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. I will build my church on the backs of men and women who can sense what they don't see, who can recognize me in another form, who has supernatural revelation of who I am. I'm going to build my church. Every so often, I'm going to raise up a man or a woman who can see what other people cannot see. And if you can see what they cannot see, you can get what they cannot get. Oh, y'all don't hear what I'm saying to you. Look at your neighbor and say, you better recognize. You better recognize. That is your wife. You better recognize that is your husband. Oh, no, that can't be my husband. He too short. I ain't gonna go on down this road. I can really play with that, but I ain't gonna. You got all these things in your mind of what it ought to look like. But relationships that last aren't built on what you look like. They're built on something you sense about that person. And that sensitivity transcends outer appearance because our appearance may change, but what you sense remains. I've told it a dozen times, but I'll tell it again. If you took me to my mother-in-law's house and put me in the living room with the red and black furniture in it, and I could put an X on the spot where I knew she was my wife. I could. I declare, I promise you, I could put an X right on the spot where I knew she was my wife. I didn't tell her I knew it. I didn't tell her at all. I got back in the car with my friend Jerry, and I told him, come on, fellas. You know we don't tell them, you tell your boy. I told my boy, I said, I'm gonna marry that woman. He said, yeah, man. I said, yeah, I'm gonna marry that woman. I just know I'm gonna marry that woman. I'm supposed to marry that woman. She's the one. How do you know it? I sensed it. I didn't see it. I sensed it. So I didn't exactly ask her to marry me. Yeah, I did finally. She said I didn't ever ask her. I did, finally, when, eventually. But what I said to her was, we were driving down the road going to Canal City, and we were on the boulevard, and I said, we were talking about something, and I said, I guess if I was to marry you, you would say yes, wouldn't you? That's a bad line. Don't try to use that line. That was the best I could come up with. And she said, well, yeah. I said, that's close enough. We're going to go off of that. We're going to go off of that. We're going to go off of that. That was the proposal. I did better later when I gave her a second wedding ring. I got on my knees and did all the fancy stuff. But the first time I was driving, I said, if I was to marry you, I just assumed you would say yes. What am I after tonight? I am after this. To recognize God's answer, you have to let go of your image. Because God didn't promise you something that you listed. God said, when you get to the right region, I will show you. Okay, now we're going to go through this text right quick and I'm going to wrap this up. Exodus 16, 1 through 5. I'm going to read it again, 31 through 32. Now we're reading it, fully understanding what's happening. So the whole Israel community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. They've been walking for 2.5 months in the desert. The whole community grumbled. They had got a bad attitude. It's hot. They've been walking for 2.5 months. They're mad at Moses and Aaron. Come on. The Israelites said to them, if only we had, now they bitter, we had died. They want to die by the Lord's hand. And what difference does it make where you die? If you're going to die in the wilderness or die in Egypt, you're still dead.
This week only, carry out large 2-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each at Domino's. What are you waiting for? Order now.
Chevy lets you begin every day fully charged, so you can go farther, and so can your money. Plus, stay connected with available OnStar technology. For summer adventures, Chevy's got you. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
When people say stupid stuff, don't argue. Don't argue with them because they're traumatized. What difference does it make whether you die in Egypt or die in the wilderness? You're dead either way. Now you sitting out here mad at me because you're going to die in the wrong spot. There we sat now, and by the way, you got to amnesia. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you're going to die there. But this doesn't make what you eat. This is last meal. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. So you want to go back to Egypt so you can die. And by the way, you remember the food of Egypt and forgot the slavery. You forgot how you had to make bricks without straw. You forgot how mean Pharaoh was to you and how he abused you, and you want to go back to abuse for dinner? Have you ever traded better for lesser because it tastes good? Oh, then he got quiet again, Jesus. You went back to an abuser. For what? Why would you go back to somebody who was abusing you? Because they can cook. So now the Lord is telling. He said, I'm going to rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. And in this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the sixth day, they are to prepare. Wait a minute. Wait. Oh, don't move nowhere. Prepare? All my life I thought it was loaves of bread. All my life I thought ducks and hot dog buns and English muffins. All my life I pictured sandwiches falling from heaven. I didn't know that I had to cook. Wait a minute. There is a message here. What God let rain down from heaven wasn't done. It had to be prepared. What God lets rain down from heaven is potential. No wonder they didn't recognize it because they hadn't prepared it. Could you have a blessing in raw form that you don't recognize because you haven't given it enough attention to prepare it to reach its fullest potential? And so you are longing after, lusting after something that's more prepared because you don't want to put the work in to take it from manna to bread. Oh, y'all don't hear what I'm saying. Write down collaboration. This is the Moses experience. I don't have time to work with that amount of time, but this is Moses' experience. All throughout Moses' life, God is teaching Moses collaboration. That it will not be all God, but it will be God and man. So when the first 10 Commandments came down, Lord, let me stop, let me quit. When they got the first 10 Commandments, number one, the first time they got it orally, and then they said, this we will do. The second time they got it, God hewed out the stone and wrote the commandments. But when Moses came down off the mountaintop with that was all God, they had built the idol, he dropped it, and it broke. The next time God said, you hew out the stone, and I will write on it. That's collaboration. Over and over again, God keeps teaching us collaboration. I am not going to rain down potential that you won't prepare. So you ask God for a job. God gave you an interview. You asked God for a wife, God gave you a date. You ask God for a second chance, God just gives you opportunity. Opportunity to be saved, opportunity to save yourself, opportunity to change your life, opportunity to fix your situation. It is within your reach. It is within your reach. God didn't let the manna fall in the tent. They had to go out and reach for it. Stretch forth your hand. You are coming into a reaching season. That God is going to put the opportunity within your reach. And the more you stretch yourself to recognize that this is my opportunity, the more God is going to bring it in. It's not going to be by his hand alone. It's going to be when you snatch the opportunity. Now snatch it back to you. That's what the rest of this year is going to be like for you. You've got to snatch that thing back to you. I don't know who I'm preaching to, but I feel chill bumps all over me. The glory of God is in this place. The Spirit of God is in this place. You have got to prepare it. God is not going to get an oven and bake the manna and turn it into bread for you. He's just going to give you the potential, and you've got to turn around and bake the potential until it looks like bread. Am I helping anybody? I'm not helping anybody. If you're watching me online right now, there are some things falling in your life that are in your reach that are not finished. And if you're not careful, you're going to step over it and call it manna and not recognize that it is bread. God's answers don't look like your prayer. It's going to look like manna. Now, I don't know who this is for, but God sent you something, and it ain't finished. And it doesn't look like what you had in mind. And you're about to walk away from it, and you said, manna, what is it? This story in Ezekiel 16 is the shadow of Jesus Christ. Because he said, your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness, and they perished. But I am the true bread that cometh down out of heaven. But when the true bread came down, they did the same thing with the true bread they did with the manna. When he came to his own, they said manna. They did not recognize him as the Messiah because he wasn't finished yet. Watch this. I'll show you one more thing. I'm going to stop. The children of Israel had been in Egypt 400 years. When they came out, they had been out of Egypt, actually 430 years, but slaves 400 years. They had been enslaved for 400 years. They are now sons. They've been out 2.5 months. And then the manna comes down from heaven. Okay? If that's the shadow, how does that compare to the reality? From Malachi to Matthew, it's 400 years. And in the Gospel of St. Matthew, an angel comes along to Mary and says, in a matter of months, you shall bring forth a son, and his name shall be called Jesus, and he shall save his people from their sins. But the people said, manna. I want to get manna out of your mouth until you actually believe that what God sent is what God said. And you stop second guessing what the Lord has done. Stand to your feet. I'm going to stop. Are you getting anything out of this? There's somebody watching me right now. I don't know whether you're in the room or whether you're online. God is sending you potential. It's potential. It's within your reach. But it don't look like what you thought it would look like. Because God doesn't give you the finished product. He gives you the potential. And you have to reach out and pull it in And the Bible said they boiled it or baked it. You haven't processed the potential. It's not that God hasn't answered. You got to reach out there in the morning and pull it to you. And then you got to put it together and form it and bake it and then eat it. Hey, you're closer than you've ever been before. And the reason I'm teaching this tonight is that I don't want you to make the mistake that Israel made. That you prayed and God answered, but you walked over the manna looking for bread as if you had no responsibility to take potential and turn it into bread. Tonight, my brothers and sisters, everything you ask God for is within your reach. Stretch out your hands again. It's in the stretch. It won't be comfortable. Your arms will be tired. It won't be easy because it's not finished. But whatever that is you've been praying about, get it in your mind. Get it in your spirit. Get it in your senses. And this time when you pull it in, claim it for yours now.
Yes. How do you sleep on a mattress? A mattress. I sleep. It's the best deal of the year. Save up to $600 on beauty that's done. Get Match that mattress brand. Sleep with them. Just check in. Watch the hospital.
To the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter number 13, verse 24 through 30. And there you will find my assignment for this morning. I will be reading it out of the NIV. If you haven't, say amen. If you're still looking, say wait a minute. Matthew, the Gospel of St. Matthew, the first book in the New Testament. Jesus told him another parable. It wasn't a parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed. What did he do? He sowed good seed in his field. Now, first miracle, you got to recognize the choir didn't know what I was going to preach. When they prepared for worship, they didn't know what I was going to preach. But for weeks I have been seeing fruits. Something is about to come out of the ground. Jesus told them another parable, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When did he do it? While they were sleeping. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, when the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servant came to him and said, Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from? An enemy did this seed of mine. The servants asked him, Do you want us, watch this closely, do you want us to go and pull them up? No, he answered, because while you are pulling the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together. Oh my God, let both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, first cutting the weeds and pounding in bundles to be burned, then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn. Can you say amen? Shout this with me. Timing is everything. Shout it again. Timing is everything. Shout it again. Timing is everything. Spirit of the living God, fall fresh on the word of God as we go into it today. Let it bring life and healing and renewal and restoration as we delve into the depths of God's word. Bring out treasures and ministry and healing and revelation. I thank you for what you are about to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Somebody shout, amen. You may be seated in the presence of God. Yeah, that's gonna work. Over the 65 years of my life, I don't think I really, when I started preaching at 19. I started pastoring at 21. I don't think I knew it then, but I know it now. The best things in life takes time. When I was younger, I was impatient because I had the naivety of thinking that dreams would come quickly. But the best things in life take time. From simple things like food, preparation to more complicated issues of parenting and marriage. The best things in life take time. People who don't have time to cook well because the best things in life take time. You can get married, you can have a wedding in 30 minutes, but it takes years to have a marriage. The best things in life take what? It is a sharp contrast between being rich and being wealthy. You can get the lottery, receive an inheritance. You can be catapulted from rags to riches, and you can be rich quick. Though many define wealth differently than how I'm going to make some wealth, it isn't just about money, but it is about the lessons you learn while struggling upward. If you have money without wisdom, you will soon be parted from your money. The best things in life take time, takes relationships. You got the money, but because it was given to you quickly, you didn't build the infrastructure to sustain it. You don't have the relationships to sustain it. You don't have the information to sustain it. And most people who get the lottery, 70 to 80% of them go broke within 5 years. You can't imagine that you can get that much money and lose it, but the truth of the matter is, God is teaching us that the best things in life take time. There are things that you learn from struggling. There are things that you learn from tests and trial and error. Some of the best teachers were failures. It takes time to do well. It takes even longer to be well. Let's listen to the words of Solomon when he comes out of Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 through 2. And listen to Solomon, the wise man, He says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. He says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose. You got purpose. But do you understand season and time? Now, we read on that, but we really don't think about it. Because if we thought about it, we would understand that some people are seasonal. Some relationships are seasonal. Some opportunities are seasonal. And yet, when we see the seasons change, we think the blessing has ceased. But it is not that the blessing has ceased. It is that the season has changed. There's a great deal, I got a lot of trees in my yard. There's a great deal of difference between how my yard looks in the spring and how it looks in the fall. And by the time it gets to winter, quite frankly, the trees are ugly and barren and destitute. And if you came in the winter and saw it, you would have no idea of how beautiful it can be if it takes time. There is a time to be born. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Now listen, everybody says there's a time to plant and there's a time to pluck up that which is planted. Do you know the difference in your life? The difference between knowing when to plant and when to pluck. Have you ever asked God, maybe you ask him when to plant, but have you ever asked him when to pluck up? Or are you intent on keeping that which is planted to the destruction of plucking up that which you have become accustomed to? You can't have a good season until you are willing to say goodbye to the season you have. I call it the art of letting go, the spirit of release, not wrestling, releasing. Some of you are wrestling to hold on to something that God is trying to take away from you, and they need to release it and simply let it go. That was that season. When I was a child, I thought I was a child, I was raised as a child, I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I had to let go of childish things, childish thinking. I thought as a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child. If you are still talking the way you were talking 10 years ago, I've got bad news for you. You have a deformity, a spiritual dysfunction that keeps your thoughts in one dimension. That means you can't fall in love with your thoughts. I want all the stubborn people to say that. Because if you are stubborn with your thoughts, you delay your next season. Some of the greatest people in every industry you can imagine. I've had the privilege of having relationships with people who were at the top of their game in just about every industry you can imagine. Those that made the greatest impact understand time. Timing is everything. is it? Say it again. Many people don't realize that part of the art of baking is timing. There are a lot of people that cook but don't bake because part of the art of baking is timing. The difference between a dry cake and a moist cake is, come on, come on, come on. The difference between a moist cobbler and a dry cobbler is whenever you taste a dry one, you know they left it in the oven. Come on. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. You've got to understand, it's timing in baseball. It's not just skill. It is the timing that causes the batter to be effective and swinging the bat. You can have the right swing, but if you swing at the wrong time, you won't have the impact that you should have had. Some of you are trying to do the right swing, but you're swinging at the wrong time. You're in such a hurry that you're swinging before the ball can strike the target because you are more moved by the crowd than you are by the ball. Timing is everything. Many people don't realize that not only is timing everything in baseball and baking, it is also everything when it comes to comedy or speaking or music. It's about timing. It's not just can you read music, can you keep time. It's not can you tell a joke, but can you time the joke. It's not can you speak a message, can you use timing to convey information. You can get great information out of time and be an incompetent speaker because you don't understand timing. Everything is a rhythm. Everything is a rhythm. God is a rhythm. Breathing is a rhythm. Circulation is a rhythm. Heartbeat is a rhythm. Pulse is a rhythm. Everything that is alive has a rhythm. Earth has a rhythm. A woman's body has a rhythm. God is telling us over and over and over in nature, in creation, in procreation, that timing is everything. You can't be fruitful out of season. Somebody shall teach me to know my season. It was my timing. You can be right about what you said, but wrong about when you said it, and do more damage than you did good. It's not about right or wrong, it's about timing. Right information delivered at the wrong time can tear a marriage up, can cause a child to feel defeated, can stop a loan from going through, can stop the house from being built, can stop you from having the peace you ought to have. You're worried about being right. You need to be worried about timing, 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 timing. Timing is everything. Timing is absolutely everything. One thing I know for sure, I came to Dallas at the right, 38 years old was the right time. Any sooner would have been a disaster. I've been ready for it. Any later would have been too late. It wasn't ready for me. It wasn't just the right time in my life. It was the right time in Dallas. It was the right time in history. You have to do things at the right time or you're not going to have the effect that you want to have because you don't understand timing. Because timing is what? Timing is what? Timing is what? Timing is what? Timing is absolutely everything. I've given this illustration before, but I want to paint it again for you that have not heard it. Paul and Silas built an amazing business because he did the right thing at the right time. KFC came at a time in the American history that women had just started to go to work. It came at a time in history that families were still sitting around the table. It solved the problem of how can we simulate a family dinner without the woman being home to cook. Doing the right thing at the right time. It wasn't just about the chicken is good. Even if the deed was great, it solved the problem and it gave up the right. Oh, y'all hear what I'm saying? Let me make this clear. If he opened up now, he go bankrupt. You can sustain it at this level, but you can't start it at this level because now if you open it up, they want to know, is it gluten-free? Do you have vegan chicken? I'm a pescatarian. They want to asking those questions at that time. Success is as much about timing as it is about anything else. Do you know what time it is in your life? I've got a watch on my wrist. I've got a ball over my back up so that I know what time it is in the day. But do I know what time it is in my life? It is time to put away childish things. I can only be fruitful in my season. The Bible says you shall bring forth fruit in your season. Your legs shall not wither, and whatsoever you do shall prosper. You have to know when it's your season, and you have to know when it's over. You have to know when to hold it, you have to know when to fold it. You cannot see folding as failure. It's all about timing. Oh, talk to me. It's all about timing. Timing is everything. I have preached this text many times. I've preached it many ways. There is an eschatological element of this text that I want to touch today that speaks to the end time. We can talk about it that way. But the reason I'm in this text today, and the reason I want to mature in this text, after many days I have been seeing entangling fruits underground. For me, this message did not start with the text. It started with a vision of entangled fruits underground. Regardless of the plant type at the top of the soil, the roots mesh together underground. Whether it is weeds or weeds, if they are planted in the same space, the roots become entangled underground. And for days, God has been showing me entangled roots. I'm going to go deeper into this, but are you ready to go with me? That's how you're ready to go with me. That's how you're ready to go with me. Timing is what? Say it again. Timing is what? Good. The text starts with a very common phrase. The kingdom of heaven is like. Some of us that kingdom truths are real in comparisons. He doesn't tell us what the kingdom is. He tells us what the kingdom is like. So the kingdom truths that I've been given out of this will come to veil. It is veiled in comparisons. Whenever the truths are veiled in comparison, you cannot become so inundated with the comparison that you fail to dig beneath the soil of the text to extract the truth. Why is Jesus telling us this story? It is not just so that we may know the story. It is that we might understand the truth that is hidden in the fabric of the story. So we can't just read through it and say, I'm through with it and I know the story. Because we have to understand that the revelation is hidden in the analogy. It hides behind the parable. It is locked up in the parable in such a way that it causes you not only to read, but to think. If you don't think when you read, you won't retain what you heard. Some people will hear this message and get nothing because they will not add a necessary portion of thinking when hearing. And they don't think I am not your Christian. I preach to people who don't think. So everybody, I'm talking that I'm saying that I'm getting that. It's okay. It's okay. If God is hiding, is God hiding? Is God hiding the kingdom and parables to avoid exposure? No. God is the one who hides from us his glory. That notion is counterintuitive to what Jesus is himself. Jesus is God revealed. Isaiah 53 says, this word, and it is important, who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed. Jesus is God revealed to us. It is God extending himself on his own. The arm of the Lord is talking about Jesus, because Jesus is God extending himself from divinity to humanity. Jesus came to express God and be the held the wonder of his glory, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Why would Jesus come to express God and then hide God? He is the revealer. He is the author of the book of Revelations. John did it, but Jesus said it. He is the revealer. So let us not think that God is hiding when God is revealing. So when we look at this, we begin to understand that it is man who loves darkness rather than light, because his deeds are evil. It is man who hid in the garden from God. It is man who walks away from truth and hides his wickedness and his iniquity from God. There is no person in this room that isn't hiding something. You know, I'm talking to you. I'm gonna keep on playing until I get it. There is not a person in this room that isn't hiding something. I have news for the young people who are talking about keeping it 100. Nobody keeps it 100. You might keep it 190. If you want to lose everything, keep it 100. If you want to destroy everything, keep it 100. If you want to lose your job, money, water, go in there and keep it 100. I know you want to be here. I'm sick of all y'all. I know I'm chilling personally. And you might be sick if you get on my nerves. We'll get you fired. But you keep it at 100. If you want to get divorced real quick and she asks you, the money hits the big in this. And you trauma like 2 bears fighting in the woods and they're breaking. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Oh, he says, I'm the greatest love in your life. Oh, you're 10. I just love you. Put up with you that alleyway. You just killing me and driving me crazy. But the truth of the matter is, I'm thinking of what I was going to wear to work. Let's keep it at 100. It's all about keeping you in the boss part. There's not a person in this room that isn't hiding something. God has nothing to hide. So when God says the kingdom of heaven is right. We must not think that God is hiding the truth, as if he were playing hiding go seek with us. But he is doing as the master of the drama, is a teacher explaining the unexplainable to a far less intelligent being. But the kingdom of heaven is wax. Like a first grade teacher teaching a student what it is right to be in Paris, what it is right to travel the world. She has to consider the age and the intellectual development of the student in order to be effective at teaching. She is not hiding, she is reducing it down to the level of the audience she is coming to. So when Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is right, it is not stupid. It is God coming toward them. Can you prove it? Yes, as high as the heavens are above the earth, so are my thoughts above your thoughts, and my ways above your ways. If I spoke it to you on my level, you would never understand it. So I speak to you in metaphors and similes and comparisons so that you can learn what the kingdom of heaven is like. And I have provided something that you can compare it to, because what I am talking about is so high that I'm breaking it down in the first line. When I say the kingdom of heaven is right, I'm talking big talk. That's what Jesus is doing when he's talking to us. He's breaking down through the parable some truths that we must take with us. I've got 5 lessons I'm going to tell you out of this text. And I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to sit down. 5 things that are to be excavated out of this text for the purpose of my assignment today. Because all of the times that I have preached this text, I have never seen the significance of timing to the text. But timing. Say it again. Say it again. You know, I want you to think of what I did in my first lesson, boy. I want you to think, why does God help me here? How does this apply to my life? What is God saying to me? Why am I watching this particular message at this particular time in my life? What in my life needs to be better timed? I made my decisions this morning according to time. I took my shower according to what time it was. I got dressed according to what time it was. I had to keep track of the time, because if I lose track of the time, I will always be late. And if I am late, I'm lose. Because timing is, I want to be in the service and the glory move, and I missed it. If you miss the first song, when the choir starts singing, the Lord is blessing me right now, and the whole audience was on top, and they had young people dancing on the whole music, and old people screaming from side to side. It's one of the building blocks of which I'm standing on right now, because timing is. If you don't respect time, you will never be wealthy, you will never be successful, you will never be mighty. Only poor folks inwardly and outwardly care nothing about timing, because timing is. Now, a little bit of people want me to listen. Let me make sure that you're the same story. In the church we had a certain man. We had his service to sow good seed in the field. And while they slept, and I used to preach against them sleeping, until I realized that everybody speaks of plan, it is impossible for you to stand around by. The enemy comes in progressively and plants the weeds or the tear while they sleep. In the story, they don't wake up the next morning and know the enemy has been there. Because the enemy has planted it in such a way that when they wake up in the morning, they do not notice any change. Notice the time. It was on the next day. And while they did not notice it, the evil obedience was sunk in the weeds. Anybody that understands the real way, listen, anybody that understands this understands that there are important things to be learned. Lesson number one, it is naive to think that the planting of good exempts us from the presence of bad. It is naive to think that the planting of good exempts us from the presence of bad. This is important for us to understand. Just because God allows wheat to be planted doesn't mean that weeds are restricted. The kingdom is like this. The kingdom is like this. So we have to be able to produce in the presence of weeds. So for all of you who are waiting for all the weeds to be gone, before you produce the wheat, you are not digging deep enough into this text. Because this text declares there will never be a day that you can be wheatful without being weedful. God allows the wheat to be planted. That doesn't mean that the weeds are restricted. Wheat is planted with great intentionality. Wheat is planted with great intentionality. In other words, wheat is not going to grow in this ground if it is not planted. It is not a natural result of the climate, the soil, the rain, and the sunshine. It has to be planted. Nobody succeeds accidentally. Nobody wins a marathon accidentally. Nobody wins the Olympics accidentally. Nobody gets a master's degree accidentally. Nobody gets a diploma accidentally. Nobody passes a GED accidentally. Nobody gets a promotion accidentally. Just because you pray doesn't mean you win. This is work. This is sweat. This is labor. Because this is